What's up, YouTube? This is going to be my Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore review here on Rants. I'm just going to give y'all a brief idea of my expectations going in and how I felt coming out of this movie. Um, going to tell you if we learned a little bit of Secrets of Dumbledore and so forth, the good, the bad, and the ugly, unfortunately, with this film. Now, as far as my expectations going into this, I actually enjoyed The Crimes of Grindelwald. I thought it was a decent movie. You can maybe call me a Fantastic Beast apologist in a lot of ways. I know I've done it a lot over the years when it comes to Eddie Redmayne, Newt Scamander, and just the Fantastic Beast franchise in general. I never was one that believed that it had to live up to, the expectations, of a Harry Potter franchise. But, at the end of the day, I felt like if it's watchable and decent and maybe we learn a little bit about characters that we did know and we did love from the Harry Potter franchise, that at the end of the day, it would all be worth it in the end. Now, of course, Dumbledore plays a gigantic role in these films. So, of course, when I got a title of The Secrets of Dumbledore, I was super excited, especially after learning that, hey, maybe Credence is, Dumbledore's brother and learning the backstory behind that. And maybe finding out something new and different about Dumbledore that, we didn't know that would, add more interest to an already interesting character. That was my take going in. I was excited. I'm not going to say I had all the expectations of the world for this film. I did not. I thought it would, at best be above average. And that would have been good enough for me. Unfortunately, I left this film feeling like it was so below par that it made me wonder how I was going to make it through at least two more of these films. I think, when you've got, of course, here on Rotten Tomatoes, a 58% critic score, I imagine that we're going to get something comparable to that when we start getting fan scores excuse me, out of this. I don't see it rising above that. I do not think it will hit 60%. I think this is going to be one of the worst reviewed Harry Potter films out there because I'll be honest with you, I think it's the worst Fantastic Beasts movie. I think by a large margin, it was the worst, and for a number of different reasons. Some of it is character related, some of it is plot related, some of it is just pacing related. But it has a lot of problems. It does not keep you interested, or at least it didn't keep me interested all the way through. Halfway through, I was already looking at my watch to see if this was over yet. I've never been that way when it comes to any Harry Potter film, simply because, hey, I go into it thinking I'm going to learn something new about something that I care about greatly, which is Harry Potter. Fortunately, when it comes to the Secrets of Dumbledore, I feel like it's almost like The Rise of Skywalker. It's a very misleading title. I left not knowing what the secret was that I learned. If it is the secret that I believe that we supposedly learned from it, it's not a very good secret. In fact, I would even go so far to say that fans have probably torn it apart from the Crimes of Grindelwald, and probably, if it's the secret I'm thinking it is, in this film, fans are going to be like, yeah, we kind of assumed that it was going to be that way. And I'll just say that secret revolves around Credence, which, of course, was the big shock. Him being a Dumbledore. And how does he fit in? And does it fit in with Kanan and so forth along those lines? When it comes to the Harry Potter franchise, that was something that was really high on the list of fans coming in. And I feel like maybe it was very underwhelming. But that being said, there's a lot of underwhelming things in this. And I'll just start off by going with the pacing of it. This film did not pace itself very well. I also felt like there was a lot of scenes in there that were in there that really didn't need to be in there. There was a lot of scenes to me that was very confusing and maybe kind of jumbled up and should have been in a different order. I feel like just so many scenes that maybe um, it didn't flow as well as maybe it should have been. This movie felt like it should be epic and it wanted to be epic, but it was very generic the way it come off. The plot was very generic. The script was very generic, and I felt like that just messed up the pacing in general because it was a film that thought itself better than what it actually was. And you could probably say that about every Fantastic Beast movie, but I will say that was is probably one of its biggest weaknesses. Now, as far as new characters are involved, we did get at least one new character that I really like. I'll be honest with you, I almost wish she was the protagonist of this. And her name, the actress's name is Jessica Williams. I think her character's name was Hicks in this. But I'll tell you, when she was on screen, I could not help but take notice. She really held me captive in a lot of scenes simply because she just demanded a presence and she did it in a very charismatic way. Dan Fogler as Jacob Kowalski has that appeal as well. And he does it again in this film. I feel like if you really wanted standouts, those two are it. Now, I also think Mads Mikkelsen did a great job, and Jude Law really took on an extended role in this, and I thought he overall was pretty good. Though I felt like a lot of Jude Law's problem was more of don't tell me, show me. And he does more tell me than he does show me. And that was a problem that I had with this film. But as far as Mads Mikkelsen taking over the role of Gellert Grindelwald, I thought he did really an exceptional job. I would even say maybe he's the guy, and I guess I kind of thought that from the beginning. He's the guy that really should have been Gellert Grindelwald from the very beginning. All these changing of faces of Gellert Grindelwald really hurt this franchise because we really can't just get a a face in our mind of what this character really should be, who he should be, because each one of them, all three of them, have had different characteristics, different mannerisms, and I feel like Gellert Grindelwald as Mads Mikkelsen. It feels like a completely different character from Johnny Depp's version of him in a lot of ways. And you know what? I almost kind of feel like I wish roles were a little bit reversed. I wish Mads Mikkelsen would have been in the second film, and maybe Johnny Depp in the third one because I think it would have made more sense in that way. Simply because Johnny Depp has a charismatic way about him and a way of maybe convincing people of things that maybe would be unconvincible for anybody else or inconceivable for anybody else to pull off. And I feel like Mads Mikkelsen, as great of an actor as what he is, he don't come off as somebody that's very convincing in this film. He's not a guy that you're gonna put as the face of a movement. He's not charismatic enough. He's not a Johnny Depp like figure. He is a great villain. He's great and he's a luring villain, and I feel like he does a great job in this role. But I feel like too often they put him in a role as to be a charismatic leader that is conniving and supposed to, be a trickster of sorts. And I feel like that just doesn't play well with what Mads Mikkelsen brings to the table. Now, as far as the relationship goes with Gellert Grindelwald and Jude Law's Dumbledore, look, whether you love it or hate it, I personally am not really a big fan of it simply because I feel like if you're going to tell the story and you're going to do it properly of the love story between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, you need to go back further. You need to go back to when they were teenagers and when all of this really came into fruition. At the point when these films begin, they are of two separate ideas and two different beliefs that you would never in a million years buy that they were ever lovers or even cared about each other in a previous life. You just wouldn't. In as much as Jude Law, especially, tries to play that off, that he cares deeply, deeply about Grindelwald. I never personally felt it. Grindelwald feels like never really felt it at all from the very beginning, and he doesn't even try to. I feel like Dumbledore comes off in this film as a love-struck teenager a little too much, and he does that again. That telling me and not showing me how much he cares. He's like, I loved him. I loved him. But when we see them on screen together, I never get a sense that he had ever even been in a room with Grindelwald. And that really ruined a lot of their scenes together, unfortunately. And you know what? That could have been the relationship between these two characters, since they wanted to go into a romantic, style when it come to these two characters with the Fantastic Beast movies. It's going to this relationship or ex relationship is going to really ruin the finale when it comes to when these two face off against each other, because it really should be a really heart wrenching moment of Dumbledore having to go fight against somebody that he cares so deeply for, and it should be a moment that we really feel sorrow for him and sorrow for the relationship that was not to be. Um, but now that I've seen the third movie of this, it feels like by the time we get to that climax, we are not going to care at all. We're not gonna feel anything in that moment, and that's gonna be really sad. It's gonna be really sad because it should have been something that should have been at the forefront and should have been something that we as fans care about when it comes to this character. And I feel like it adds nothing to Dumbledore and it adds nothing to Grindelwald. This attraction or former attraction or whatever adds nothing to the characters at this point. There will be, when that climax happens, there's not going to be any feelings, I don't believe, between fans of like, this is a really sad moment because of what could have been. Or of the sacrifices of Dumbledore. Now, as far as Dumbledore is concerned, there is one big thing that bothered me entirely through this movie, and that is making Dumbledore into a Christ like figure. They make Dumbledore seem like he does no wrong and that he is pure of heart in all of these things. And I don't buy it. And I'll tell you the reason why I don't buy it is because I don't remember if it was in the Harry Potter movies or if it was in the book, but I remember Harry Potter asked him, "Why would you not, want to a position in the Ministry of Magic?" And Dumbledore tells him because basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he basically doesn't trust himself with such power. No, why does he not trust himself with such power? Simply because of his past beliefs, and so forth. He doesn't believe, he worries about himself in such having such power and what he might be capable of doing. Well, this movie, The Secrets of Dumbledore, makes it seem like you know, he is the perfect character, the perfect person. There's two specific scenes that I'm talking about in general, and when you watch the movie, you will see them. You know, there's a little back and forth between Dumbledore and Newt Scamander, that where Newt Scamander basically just tells him, "Oh, yes, you did all these things, but you're making up for it now, and you're basically changing the narrative." And that's something you should be proud of. So forth. Then there's another part where literally he is seen at the end of the movie as someone with the purest of hearts, the most capable person. And that to me really rubbed me the wrong way. Simply because Dumbledore, I think personally, does best when he is a character that is in the gray. He is a mysterious character. He is a character that we want to know more about. He's a character that we know has a sketchy past and that is maybe trying to make amends for it now, but is someone that maybe isn't a purest of heart and purest of thought, you know, um, and that is something that troubles him as a character, as a person in general, is something that bothers him deeply. That is where I feel like Dumbledore does his best, is when he's that. But the Secrets of Dumbledore does not have him in that way. They have him as that Christ-like figure, that savior, that pure of heart figure, and it does not work for his character. Now, as far as I've talked about the people that I thought did the best in this movie. And now I'm going to talk about the person that drove me absolutely crazy in this movie, and that is Ezra Miller. His version of Credence in this movie is so lackluster. A picket fence could literally have played a better role than what he does in this film. He takes on a character that is more in the forefront, but he doesn't add anything. I mean, his character is so bad in this film that to be honest, it ruined Credence, who in the first two films I was kind of interested in. But it has taken away that interest for me. I pray that they do not add Ezra Miller to the next film. I don't really want to see Ezra Miller in Hollywood in general anyway. He's a horrible human being, and if you're going to punish Johnny Depp in the same movie, you're going to cast him out of his role in this movie, but yet leave Ezra Miller in, is a travesty if there ever is one. I just feel like Ezra Miller has no place in Hollywood, and he definitely has no place in this film. Not just because of who he is off the screen, but who he is even on the screen now. Credence is not worth even really mentioning from this point forward. Um, I say that, but I'm fixing to actually mention him again. I actually felt like maybe his character with Nagini was something that really intrigued me. It intrigued me because I was like, hey, when it comes to the Fantastic Beast movies, we're going to get a backstory of Nagini, and we're going to get, of course, more of a backstory to Dumbledore. We didn't get the backstory with Dumbledore that I was expecting, and it don't look like we're going to be getting it with Nagini as well. And that's very sad because, she didn't even show up in this movie. Now, I think it was because she was pregnant, but at the end of the day, I don't really know where they were going with her character in the second film anyway, so It's yet to be seen whether or not she will return. I hope she does. I hope we learn more about this character in the future from these Fantastic Beast films. Because if we do 5 movies of this, we can at least say, okay, we learned something that we didn't know, so it's not a complete and total waste of our time. But, um, you know, he was bad. Eddie Redmayne's Newt Scamander. Oh man, he was just piss poor in this movie. There's just no way to explain it. He's bad in this movie. He really does not deserve to be a main protagonist at all. Um, I hate that we got 2 more movies with him. My love for his character has diminished with each film. I no longer believe that he's capable of any kind of redemption arc when it comes to his acting ability. His character is just not interesting. He acts like a man on screen that doesn't want to be on screen. I've never seen an actor that hides away from the cameras more than Newt Scamander does. And he might could get away with it if he was a side character. But he's the main protagonist and he doesn't feel that way. So yeah, he's a big disappointment. Ezra Miller, Eddie Redmayne, 2 worst people in this entire film. And my last complaint about this film is all of the sacrifices that were made in the Crimes of Grindelwald, um, that we thought was going to be, some, heart wrenching moment, that, we're going to get to see, whose alliance with who, was really just kind of tarnished at the beginning of this film because it just kind of went back to normal as usual. And that was very disappointing. But if you wanted me to give an actual final grade when it come to this, if I had to pick from 1 out of 10, I would say I would give it a 4. I don't even want to say it was average; it was below average film. The pacing was off. The plot was terrible. You could even, you know what? I hate to be like some kind of social justice warrior, but a lot of this film was took place in parts of Asia, and they didn't even they wanted it to kind of have that feel to it, especially the last end of it. They wanted it to have that feel, but they didn't hardly show any people that was from the region, which kind of was off to me in a way because I'm like, you get literally no social justice warrior points, no woke points for adding that into this film simply because you added nobody of that culture in the film, hardly. So I'm like, yeah, no woke points for you, The Secrets of Dumbledore, for that. And I personally thought that was a wasted opportunity simply because there's one place that we might could have learned about, the history of the magic of that world, maybe learn some lore. And it was just really a wasted opportunity because they didn't really go any further on it. But overall, uh, like I said, 4 out of 10, pacing problems, plot problems, acting problems, you name it, it has it. Really, bunch of inconsistencies in a lot of different ways. Just not a very good film. Just not a very good film at all. Very, very disappointing. But anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think down below. If y'all have seen this film, let me know if I'm completely and totally off. I personally believe that if it's got a 58% uh, Rotten Tomato, bad score. Um, with critics, I do not believe that it will rise higher than 60%. With fans as well, I think a lot of fans are going to be turned off by this movie, and they might even be turned off about the franchise in general, which is just a shame in itself. But anyways, guys, let me know what y'all think down below. And as always, guys, y'all can follow me on Rumble and Minds as well. As always, thank y'all for watching. Y'all take care.